Hello everybody, welcome back to What Culture Wrestling. I am Gareth here. It is a Sunday and you know the drill by now. It's just me talking to you about all our great wrestling news that has dropped over the last night. So let's jump straight on into it. The first piece of news we've got today is, well, it's to do with backstage details on WWE apparently attempting to hold yet another draft. That's right, the last one we had was, I believe, October 2019 and they're already hinting at doing another. This is according to Fightful Select. They said that WWE's been going back and forth, talking about whether they should hold another draft and when. Originally, the plan was to do it in August, so it would have happened this month, but obviously everything that's going on with the current global situation, that's changed everything drastically over the last few months. Then they apparently moved it back to September, and now apparently they moved it back again to October, so it'll be like a year since the last one. Maybe they'll make it an annual thing. We don't know. They've spoken obviously to the broadcast partners about the changes and everything else, and they've obviously spoken to a lot of other arenas about live event changes, because everything is just constantly changing right now for the company, like it is changing for most of the world. So yeah, let me know what you think of that, because that feels like a very quick turnaround in terms of draft. I know we had the Superstar shake-up, and then we had a draft in the same year, which was pretty crazy. And now we're going to have another. We could have potentially had another draft before, like a full year spin, which would have been weird. I don't know. I like a draft. I do like a draft. It's very exciting. I like the old version of the draft when they had like all the pictures popping up and then it went and it landed on somebody like it was a proper lottery. I enjoyed that. Not really big on the draft picks thing, because I just don't think the atmosphere is built up. I don't think the tension's there that they used to have. But let me know what you think of WWE apparently set to hold another draft in October. Okay, so in other WWE news, you may have noticed recently SmackDown's been a pretty good show. I'm very lucky that I work at a Saturday and I get to constantly talk about SmackDown, because in terms of shows in WWE right now, I'd say I would go out on a limb and say it's the best one. Fight me. Don't fight me. I don't want to fight anyone. That's just, no, I'm tired. I'm a very tired man. Moving on. Okay, so Daniel Bryan apparently has had... He's fingering a lot of pies in SmackDown. I just keep saying strange things. We'll move on. So he's been requesting particular pushes for a lot of the underused talents that we've seen on SmackDown. That's why we've seen people like Gran Metalik. We've seen people like Shorty G, Drew Gulak, and Lindsay Dorado all getting these brilliant... all getting a bit of spotlight. All getting a chance to shine on the blue brand. That's why we saw that fatal four-way involving those people. That's why obviously we saw Metalik going up against AJ Styles last week. We're obviously now seeing Shorty G, or Chad Gable as his actual name is. He's now in a weird thing with King Corbin. So that's obviously he's going well there. And then this also got noted. This was all according to Wrestling News. It also said that he had a lot of say in terms of working with Drew Gulak initially. He really wanted that program. He really wanted to get Drew Gulak put up there and give him a nice bit of a push, for want of a better phrase. And yeah, it's worked out really well. Like we've said, me and Phil constantly say it now every single weekend. It's one of the best shows that are going, because you feel like everybody's getting a chance to shine, but then they don't overuse people as well. They can give people a break, because it is such a nice condensed 2-hour show. If you've not been watching SmackDown, I understand, okay, because WWE's hurt me as well, but I implore you to go and check it out again, especially this week. I thought this week was really good, actually. And speaking of this week's SmackDown, we might as well talk about the ratings, because we always have to talk about the ratings. It's a Sunday, it's just what we do. Did they go up? Did they go down? If I had like a line, I'd say it was just very slightly down. Just it wasn't awful. They had a 1.7% decrease from last week's show. This is according to Showbuzz Daily. And they went, I think they drew an average of 1.892 million viewers overnight, which it's not a huge drop off, so slight positive or slight negative. It depends if your glass half full or glass half empty, I guess. But they also scored a 0.5 rating in the always important 18 to 49 demographic. That was tied for number 1 on the night with Shark Tank. So yeah, that's good, I guess. I mean, it was a really good show. I enjoyed it. I felt like storyline wise, it was the strongest SmackDown I've seen in ages, because I felt like they were just juggling so many balls, and they did it really well. And I think the Fiend popping up at the end was a brilliant cliffhanger ending. We don't get enough of them, personally, in WWE. I love a cliffhanger because it makes me want to watch next week. It's such a simple thing, but it needs to be done more often. Or maybe if it was done more often, it won't feel as special. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. Okay, keeping in the vein of all things WWE, we're going to talk about WWE Hall of Famer Kurt Angle, who has been talking about a few things with Denise Salcedo, I hope I said that right, of Instinct Culture. So he's obviously been talking about his final run in the company, those final closing stages of his career. And there's been a few things that he's mentioned. You might have seen this online, but if you've not, we'll just go into it now. He said that, I'll quote him here, but he was talking about what he wanted to do in his last run. He said, "It didn't go the way I wanted it to. Vince McMahon had an idea for me. I think he was looking at me as a liability, someone that was addicted to painkillers, someone that broke his neck 5 times. So I think Vince didn't have the same idea I did. I wanted to get a title run when I came back." So, I don't know. I mean, nostalgia's great, but it would have been super nostalgic seeing Kurt holding the nice big WWE title above his head or anything, or even if it was just a nice E title. That would have been a nice feel-good moment, but you do see Vince's point of view. I mean, we do complain all these times about part-timers coming in and picking up a belt just for the sake of it. Yeah, I think he had the right idea, Vince, just not putting him quite in that centre spot, giving him too much pressure and everything else when his body was completely broken down at that point. But we'll go into more detail now because he talked about having to wrestle Corbin in his final match, which obviously, if you remember this, now it was a year ago, a lot of people wanted him to go up against maybe a legend in his last match, just have that real big crescendo moment, but he went against Corbin. Corbin got the win, got loads of heat, and it probably worked out in the end for Corbin, but we'll talk about what he said. So he said, basically, I wanted to come back and have a good way to retire. Vince told me that I had a program with Baron Corbin, and I told him that I wanted to retire at WrestleMania. And he said, well, you're going to wrestle Baron Corbin because you had a program with him for the last 7 months. I said, Vince, I want to retire. Baron is a great talent, but he's an upcoming talent. How about John Cena? And then Vince apparently said, if you want John Cena next year, you got him. But this year, you get Baron instead. Then Angle then replied, he said, Vince, I'm not going to be here next year. I'm done. This is it. So he said, well, you stuck with this. So, there you have it. We could have had John Cena versus Kurt Angle, WrestleMania 36. I mean, it's unfair, probably, to say that, because Angle was done. And that, in a way, that just feels like Vince is trying to tempt him, going, oh, if you could maybe stay around a little bit longer, we can still use your name value. You can have that big Cena send-off that you really want. So, I don't know, a bit underhanded, maybe? No, let me know what you think of that, but interesting. Very interesting that it was, well, Angle brought that to the table, brought the Cena stuff to the table, and Vince just said, nope, we want Corbin to be an upcoming star. He was trying to build a new star. Who'd have thunk it? Okay, speaking of former WWE employees, we've got a couple here back-to-back that were just talking about their experiences in WWE when they were there. They've obviously now left. These are people that left in the Black Wednesday Exodus, as it is now infamously called. First one we're going to talk about is Luke Gallows. He popped up and he was talking about Roman Reigns, really, and he said a lot of positive things. He didn't just slam WWE like a lot of people do. He said, I will speak his quote in my words. He said, I will say this, I was not a fan of Gallows, Anderson and AJ Styles joining WWE in 2016. I said that publicly. I thought we had a good thing going in Japan. And then he said, when he actually got there in 2016, he said, when I got there, I was pleasantly surprised because the locker room of old had changed. The old guard was gone. It wasn't everyone walking around on eggshells. I give big credit to Roman Reigns for that. It wasn't the locker room vibe necessarily in WWE, it was the vibe of some of the people who weren't in charge, who still tried to lead through fear, and everybody is supposed to be scared of everybody and all that stuff. So if you remember, Gallows was obviously part of WWE for a while, and then I think he left in 2010. You can follow up on that if I'm wrong, just let me know in the comment section below, but I think it's 2010, around that time. So he was away for about 6 years. So it's a long period of time, so there was a passing over. I think people like JBL was still in the company quite a lot back then, so he obviously would have had a lot of backstage sway and used to throw his weight around a lot, as we know. People like that, yeah, I can understand how a lot of younger talents would have been maybe a bit intimidated and just didn't want to piss off the wrong people, really. So that must have been a pleasant surprise, going back and just seeing that, oh, everyone could do their own thing now. And I think a lot of people say this, like it gets hammered over the head on WWE programming that Roman Reigns is this locker room leader, but everyone backstage vouches for him, and he must have. Well, everyone just must have so much respect in him. He's probably come in and said, "No, everyone, just do your own thing. Just be nice to each other. Don't be idiots, and we'll all get along." So lovely to see nice things said about Roman Reigns, and I can't wait until we see him again on WWE TV, because you know what? I've missed him. Sue me, I've missed the Superman punch. Right, and the other former WWE star, the recently released star that had a few things to say about his time in WWE before he left, is EC3. He was talking on Talk Is Jericho. I nearly sang it, I nearly did the thing, I'm not going to do it. So yeah, he was talking to him about the main roster when he was called up there and how that went wrong. And he also mentioned how he wanted to be presented at one point, his plans for a certain push, let's say. So I will go into it. It's quite big in this, so we'll bear with me. He said when he was talking about his main roster call-up, he said the call-up happened, which was interesting because you wait for the call-up your whole life, and the most interesting part is the vignette, right? So the big promo package that comes on, how you're sold on television. He said WWE kind of haphazardly put all these vignettes together, and my literal vignette to be called up to the biggest wrestling company in the world was filmed by my roommate in my apartment in Orlando. Yep, that's no expense spared. He said, we filmed the vignette in my apartment and it airs for like 6 weeks, but we'd never really hear anything about it. And then the Royal Rumble comes up and he thought, well, I'll be number 3, get a good pop, be off to a good start. But no, I think it was the week after I'm working with Moxley. And if you remember that, it was a bit of a lackluster appearance. I think that was the one when he was on a Moment of Bliss and then he went to speak and then they cut him off. And I was like, that's what he does. Give EC3 the mic and he's very good. But no, they just made him a mute guy who holds a red cup. So it worked out really well. But speaking of Moxley, Ambrose, that dude, they were obviously feuding a lot on live events at this time, obviously. And Moxley, Ambrose, that guy, was on his way out of WWE, and he just spoke about it really. He said it was a weird dynamic, but he thought he could have made something out of it. He said, we go to these live events, and I'm working babyface, and he's working heel. And he's getting great reactions because he should. He sacrificed for years for the company. He told the company, F you, and people love that. And then he said of himself, he said, I'm just a jacked up dude in trunks who has no character or development. We work in these matches, he's getting cheered, but it's working though. It's my wheelhouse because I can be pushed as the mega 5 moves of doom babyface that cannot be beat. But I'm obviously liked for certain reasons, and people are turning against it like Cena-ish. Then I'm made. That was my pitch. Push me as a babyface, but I'm a heel. So that's quite interesting. You don't hear many people saying, right, I want to be pushed in the same mold as a John Cena or a Roman Reigns, where you're an unwanted babyface. But EC3 was just so switched on. He was like, we can lean into this. You can look at me. I look like a main eventer built from the ground up, the Randy Orton spiel. Do you know what I mean? He looks like that. So let's go with that. And then people will get annoyed at that and think that I'm just a company man. And then we can finally do a proper heel turn because that was the plan all along. It would have been cool, but of course they didn't do that. He got a red cup. He was on main event a lot. And then he left. And now he's in Impact and he's doing lovely things. And we like to see people doing lovely things in Impact. And speaking of Impact, they're doing really well, and it's good. It's good if you like wrestling, if you like lots of wrestling, it's good seeing other smaller wrestling promotions do really well. And they're now reporting, they reported this, I think it was a statement on Twitter, just one of their social media outlets. They've said that they're at an all-time high in terms of subscription numbers, in terms of social media numbers. The actual statement says, July was our biggest month ever on YouTube, our biggest month ever on Twitter, our biggest month ever on Instagram, plus we have a record number of Impact Plus app subscribers. Thank you all for your support and momentum. So yeah, if you've been watching anything of Impact recently, obviously saw at Slammiversary, they had all those debuts and returns and everything. It was just, there was a lot of buzz around Impact, and they've carried that momentum forward. They've had a couple of weeks of decent programming. It's an exciting time again for Impact, which is awesome, because you all remember it seems like eons ago now, they had that really cool golden era where they had a lot of brilliant homegrown stars, and then they brought in maybe a few too many old WWE guys, and it all just went a bit, it tailed off, let's say. So hopefully they can learn from those mistakes and push people like EC3, and you've got the Good Brothers as well. Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. We like this. We like seeing Impact do well. And our last thing today, it's not really a negative, it's attempting to be constructive criticism. I don't personally agree with it, but obviously you gotta let me know what you think. Okay, last up, our last little news piece that we've got today is, it's not negative per se. It's a bit of constructive criticism. I don't necessarily agree with it, but you guys have got to let me know what you think in the comment section below. But it's all to do with Booker T. Booker T is talking about Big E and obviously his solo run right now and what he thinks he should do to change himself and adapt himself as he goes solo. This was on his Hall of Fame podcast. He said, I think Big E is going to have to shed a few things in order for people to look at him like the world champion. The gear, maybe. Some forms of the gear. The colours. So, I don't know. I mean, straight away, don't try and change him too much. I mean, what's got Big E over so much at this point is being a part of the New Day. And New Day is that brilliant, colourful aesthetic and just colourful personalities and everything else. And Big E always shines with that. But he did say a few more things, so we'll go into that. He said, I still think Big E trying to be the New Day is not going to work for him as far as him working at the top of the card. I'm talking about being the main attraction. I'm talking about the guy the company has put in position to be the guy. I don't think that's going to catapult him to the level as far as still trying to be the New Day. You can't try to rehash something that you've been doing for so long and think that's what is going to take you to the next level. I don't necessarily agree. I think what makes Big E so dynamic really as a performer right now is the fact that he's this huge guy. He's this absolute just force of nature, personality, and just in the ring he's brilliant. Do you know what I mean? He's so powerful, so fast. But his personality, he's so engaging, he's funny, he's compelling, he's got a little bit of everything, which is what the New Day are. They're not always just having a laugh and joking around. They can switch it on. They can go from having a joke to super serious in a heartbeat, and that's what's made them so good as a team. And I think Big E can use that. I think we saw that on SmackDown in that match that he had with The Miz. He went from having a laugh and a joke, and then Miz slapped him, and he just switched. And he had that submission as well. His submission looked so brutal as well. It's not just the big ending, which questionable finishing, let's just say that. But yeah, his actual submission Brock lock, but I don't know what it is, the knee day, as I think you should call it, was outstanding. And hopefully things work out for him. Don't change too much, Big E, because we love what you're doing right now. And just give him some time. Just give him some time to see what he can do with this version of the Big E character. If it doesn't work after a while, then yeah, maybe thinking about changing a few things. But right now, it's a little early. I don't necessarily agree with Booker T's criticism. Okay, so that has been our Sunday news roundup. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about all these news stories. We've had a lot there, a lot of quotes, a lot of me talking, not doing a lot of the impressions of the wrestlers because they'd probably be offensive and highly inaccurate, but yes, you're welcome for me not doing that. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of Impact doing really well, what you think of all the backstage, obviously, stories of people who worked in WWE, what you think of Daniel Bryan being such a hands-on force in SmackDown right now. What do you think of the potential of another draft happening? Hopefully it's a draft lottery and not a draft pick thing, because the lottery is just better. It's just better. You know it is. Just don't deny it to yourself any longer. It's better. I have been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling. Do not forget to follow me on Twitter at gmorgan04 and follow everybody here at What Culture Wrestling at What Culture WWE. I'm good at this, good at the Twitter handle stuff. Thank you very much for watching today. I hope you have an amazing Sunday wherever you are in the world, whether it's the morning, whether it's the night. Just have fun, and hopefully I will see you next weekend.